YouTube, how we doing? Pass the Prop NFL edition coming back to you guys. It is Best Bets. It is our betting show here today for championship weekend. Bills and Chiefs facing off, and obviously the Commanders facing off against Philly. So it should be a fun one. Joined as always by my guy Stu. How you feeling, man?
Oh, can't complain. Can't complain at all. I mean, it's the best time of year. We got playoff football. We got fantastic matchups. And I just tweeted out, we won't have many of these left. You know what I mean? We're rounded out the season right here. What felt like week 4 just a couple weeks ago. But hey, I mean, I'm excited. I couldn't be happier. Commanders are here. They're fighting for playoffs, maybe even Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens, man. I think we got some good bets today. We got bets for every single game. And I figure I'll get this out the way earlier. If you guys do have questions, make sure to get them in. It feels like we're going to touch on a lot of people today. So you might as well drop those questions in now, and we'll get to them over the course of the show.
Yeah, it should be good. Like I said, on these shorter slates, we usually get to every question. So if you have them, this will be the time to do it. Hopefully we'll be able to get through everything there, obviously. I'm just going to look at some line movement. I don't think we've seen too much. I see FanDuel move Washington up to 6.5 now. Total has stayed the same there. But yeah, 6.5, 47.5. I saw the Chiefs game actually went up in total to 48.5. So we're starting to see a little bit of movement go that way. Obviously, some money coming in on those. Obviously, I won't talk to you about the Washington movement the other way, but any thoughts on that Bills spot moving up? I think you kind of talked about maybe wanting the under in that one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of smart people talk about liking the over in that game. Honestly, it's like I said, I think first half under is going to be the way I do it. I'm not in a rush to bet it. If it's going up already, it might, even continue to go up a little bit more. But I think I will be on the first half under, just because I do think both teams are going to establish the run. I think we're going to see some early James Cook, maybe even James Cook first quarter rushing could be something I'd take a look at betting on, the under. Actually, everyone has that now. It's not even just Prize Picks of the world. Even all the big books have it. So definitely like that. And I don't know who's going to be running for the Kansas City side. That's the only issue, right? It could be Pacheco. It could be fucking Samaje Perine at this point. So, I think it might start a little bit slower. And yeah, only thing about the Washington line movement is I wish I waited to bet it. I bet the 6, not the 6.5. So we'll see where that keeps going, but maybe I'll have to double down a little bit.
We already got my first slander coming at me here from Hughes. I actually have I don't think that really did anything. I wasn't impressed with Hurts in any of these games, at all. We were just talking before the show about how I was thinking about betting some Hurts unders and passing yards because everybody thinks he's going to bounce back and do all this stuff. But I'm not on that train. I don't think he's got the best defense. He's got the best running back, best offensive line. So you got 2 1A receivers too. So just to continue to be under 150 yards in games doesn't really make me feel any better about it. It doesn't matter to me when my team loses. Like the other team, that doesn't bother me. They lost to the Niners how many years ago? That one made me mad because they were favored to win that game by 7 points, right? And you kind of just assume they're going to win, right? Those are the ones that kind of hurt you a little bit more. I think there were 5.5 point dogs against the Eagles, right? You go into that game obviously hoping they're going to win, but I don't expect them to, right? If I was mad every time I lost a bet or anytime my team lost, dude, I would be having gray hair at 28th. Hey, I ain't got that gray hair yet, bro. 28, I ain't graying up. So knock on wood. But if that was the case, I'd be an angry dude, man. I ain't angry, man. I'm happy go lucky on this stuff. Enjoy when my team does well. I got to see a Super Bowl in my lifetime, so obviously happy about that. Hopefully. Stu gets to feel the same way here soon. But yeah, no, I'm not. My slander and my bets, they don't affect how I feel about actual people in the game. It's look at numbers, bro. That's all you can do. That's kind of how you have to take your judgment out of things.
And I think we're kind of, I don't want to say the gold standard on this app for shitting on our own teams and shitting on people and shit, having
fun. The Packers a lot.
But not letting it actually affect anything. Because that's my problem. I watch a lot of people and they're having fun and then you see it and it actually does affect their betting. And I'm like, whoa. That's where, this show, we depend on betting. You know what I mean? Both of us depend so much on betting that letting your own fandom get in the way of that would be so silly. And so, especially as a team, once again, that's been awful for so long across all my sports, So I feel like that is one thing we can do here pretty well is we make fun of each other, we make fun of teams, make fun of players. But when it's time to actually bet, when it's time to put your money down, that's when all that shit goes away. And you'll even see that today.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you saw us too this year, right? I mean, I've taken teams against my Packers. I took the Bears twice. I took the Bears twice against them on the spread. I said I'm going to bet the Packers, but aren't you going to bet on your team every time? I didn't endorse it for you guys to take it. I'm just saying I'm taking it, right? So if I don't put it up here on the screen as that spot, right, and I don't bet it, and I'm not giving it out for you guys, I don't give it out to you guys to take it, right? So it's I know people are looking at your bets. I know people are looking at my bets and I don't want to say blindly tailing, but you guys are in here to try to make money with us. We're trying to help you guys make money. If I was to just throw my bias in there and say all right, you're betting this, just because my Packers are going here in an absolutely terrible matchup, I'll feel awful taking having you guys actually put your hard-earned money on that spot. So. No, we tried to say as, even keel on this. Obviously, it's tough when, Washington going from 4 wins last year to a big spot here. So, obviously, that's a big jump. But definitely, we don't want to be – I don't want to be one of those shows that's this team's in this spot. These guys are just going to go over the top, and it kind of makes us sound like homers, right? We are homers. We're going to bet on our spots, but I'm not going to endorse it to you guys to bet it. Okay. We can't be doing this, bro. We can't be just if they didn't have these 2 plays, shit would have changed. Come on. We got to go off the numbers, go off the stats because we were just talking about that game against Tampa Bay, and the thing there, and it's all right. I remember there was drops in that Tampa Bay game. That doesn't make Jalen Hurts' stats look any better, right? There's not much you can do on that. You know what I'm saying? You can go on any team that we have drops in these games. All right, you got to just tell Lamar Jackson he sucks because they lost, even though they had how many drops, right? In a year from now, no one's going to remember the drops. They're all going to remember, he couldn't win. They're all going to put it on Lamar that he couldn't win. So that's the tough part about being a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and hey, it's the playoffs. People are going to shit talk no matter what happens, so we'll just enjoy the ride. Obviously it's been fun in here. We've had a lot of Philly guys in the chat, and, just in the community as well. So having that, that back and forth is always a good time. And obviously they know how to dish it out. Hopefully they know how to lose gracefully this year.
They know.
It might be a new experience.
Part, bro. They don't know how to take it. That's the tough part.
Hey, you're not always going to be the Kings. Had a good little run there. You're in charge for a little bit, but hey, times are changing, Things are looking up in Washington.
I'm ready to post a comment. Once Jalen Hurts crosses that 48-yard mark this week, he still needs to throw 2 touchdowns. But once he crosses that, then we will actually get to what Fantasy Better told me Jalen Hurts' line would be in 1 game. we are working on game 3 to get to those numbers. I think it was 3 touchdowns. So yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, and that's the thing is Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do anything. That's what I'm saying. But when we're talking prop bets, we need him to do something if we want to bet on him. That's what I'm saying. So that's also tough.
And also, to be fair, in the past, guys like Brock Purdy have gotten criticism for the same thing, right? For carrying a Shanahan system into the playoffs. But I would say, 1, Purdy didn't actively look bad in those games, like Jalen Hurts has actively looked pretty bad in these games. But 2, Hurts is seen as a different tier of quarterback than these guys. So when you're analyzing him, people are holding him to a higher standard than your average game manager. Because if you will notice, I've actually talked way more shit in past years about Jalen Hurts specifically than I have this year. I've actually said really minimally negative things about him, besides the fact that I wouldn't trust him in a negative game script. And that's because I have come around and recognized that some of the lack of interceptions, right, controlling the ball, not turning it over, he does do stuff like that at an elite level, right, which you do get credit for. But once again, I think it's more in the game manager tier. If you're a top-level game manager rather than your top level quarterback. And I think that's why you see all the criticism, is because people still in their head hold him to that higher standard, in part because guys like you guys in the chat and in the Eagles community have been banging the drum that he's a great quarterback over these last couple of years, when in reality, I think we can attribute a lot of it to the offensive line and the system around him. So that's my argument. If we get out in a race in this game, if the Commanders score some points, let's see what happens. Let's see if Hurts can kind of reciprocate and do his part, because if he will, then he'll obviously shut me the hell up.
Yeah, he just has to do it. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the 60 minutes that are happening on Sunday. So that's really the only thing we can go off of on those. So, but yeah, I mean, we were always talking about Purdy. You're kind of in that middle level. You're in that middle level. You're not bad. You're just like a middle level guy. So, all right, let's get into some bets. Dude, you ready to get going? We got 25 guys trickling in here. We're gonna get ready to bet this spot. Anything else you want to talk about? Maybe in the Bills-Chiefs game before we get going.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think which game are we doing props for first? Are we going to do Bills?
We'll do the Washington Philly one first. We'll do, since it's the first game. But do you have? We already kind of talked about the Washington game, kind of on what we just kind of did. It just kind of came up. We didn't even get to break it down. But anything you want to say about the Chiefs game before we get to props?
I mean, for that game, I'm still kind of in that same middle ground. If I like Kansas City, I was hoping we might get a little bit of live movement. And I still kind of do think we could, like right before tip, of like heavy money coming in on the Bills. I think that's always a possibility, but man, I don't know. Same thing I said earlier, still kind of like the first half under. And yeah, maybe it's some like long shot. I think long shots in both these games are going to be fun. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the show. But anytime you have so many wide receivers at such low numbers, and you have two awesome quarterbacks, I think that does create some fun opportunities. So we'll get to that a little bit later, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into it. So, first game obviously is going to be that Washington Philly game. We have bets in this game, so I guess I'll kick it over to you, Stu. I know you're actually going to be betting on an Eagles player in this spot, so I'll let you take it away. And the Eagles banter may slow down for a little bit.
Yep, I got Saquon Barkley over 12.5 receiving yards, minus 110 right now in DraftKings. It's 13.5 on FanDuel. I like that as well. And if it does move, I think like 14 is where I'd play it too. But we're not quite there yet. I think this is a really good number. I probably would have set it closer to 14, 15 for a guy like Saquon, coming off his second highest snap share of the season last week. He played 90% of total snaps. When I look at Saquon and I look at his role in this game, I mean, look no further than where the sports books are pricing the guy, right? 130 rushing yards, 25 carries. These are the highest numbers we've seen all year and the highest numbers we've seen in the playoffs in quite a little bit. So I think we can all agree, combine that with the 90% snap share, opportunity isn't the problem. He's going to be on the field damn near every possible snap you can. All while averaging, 17 yards over the air in the regular season, right? You're getting a number a good bit under his average right here, when really the only thing I see kind of standing in our way would simply be the Eagles beating the shit out of Washington. I think that's your most likely situation where he would miss this prop. And that's not something we've seen in the playoffs, right? Both spreads have put Washington as, substantial dogs. And in back-to-back weeks, the opposing teams have been playing in negative game scripts, right? So we've seen, Rashad White went over this number as the primary receiving back. And then last week, Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he got pretty much whatever he wanted in the year. But both of those things are still coming in negative game scripts when that wasn't the expectation. So Saquon has only been in 2 negative game scripts early in the year against Tampa Bay and against Atlanta, but obviously had success in both of those games. So for me, the thing here is kind of why are we getting a number at this point when I think it's going to be a competitive game? I think it's going to be a close game. I think, like I said, the only reason I really wouldn't be interested in this prop is if you do think the Eagles beat the crap out of Washington. But even then, look at the early part of this game. When you look at how Washington's going to defend Saquon Barkley, I'm not sure how you could be operating on an assumption other than they're going to stack the hell out of the box. They're going to bring everything in there, and they're going to dare Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. I don't see how we craft a different equation for how this game goes. Saquon's going to be a part of the solution to that game plan, right? All that game plan is tailored towards stopping him on the ground. I don't see how you don't come in here with some easy screens, some easy checkdowns, get him the ball in space, one blocker, and you take down these Washington linebackers who frankly haven't been great at tackling. They've been great at getting to the quarterback and putting pressure, Luvu in particular. But then when you actually look at Luvu, like, in the receiving game and stuff like that, there's nothing to be really impressed by. They're using Jeremy Chin in the box a lot. It's going to be a lot of single high safety opportunities, which means if you get one guy, you beat the linebacker, I could really easily see Saquon having a 30, 40-yard catch in this game as well, right? This is one of the most explosive players in football we're talking about. So when I see receptions at 2.5 juiced, man, I mean, I'm curious. I don't see a lot of situations where Saquon gets 2 to 3 catches and one of them isn't for 10 plus yards. Just with his pure ability in this game and the fact that there should be some design touches to get him the ball, for me, I don't see how he doesn't go over, especially you add in Jalen Hurts dealing with some injuries. When we talk about it all the time, how do you switch up from the traditional run game? How do you get creative, right? It's quarterback rushing a lot of the time. You keep the linebackers guessing, you give them multiple things to think about. If your quarterback isn't able to do that, then I think the short passing game is naturally the way we see teams mix it up secondary. So I think Saquon's going to be a big part of that. I see Cashville in the chat, Jalen not healthy. Commander's going to headhunt him. I mean, maybe it's the playoffs. These guys are going hard, but I think the fact that he's not 100% healthy is good news for this prop. More easy completions. Let's start out this game. All the criticism in the world has been on Hurts passing. I don't know if they start out the game with the 50-yard bomb down the field. I think you probably get a couple easy completions. You get him kind of eased into this game, and then you let a couple loose. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a big part of that. So all of this, I mean, for me, it's funny. I actually think of college props. All offseason, I've been betting on the dumbest fucking coaches in the world with the simple thought, like logic that, hey, your best player is your running back. All your wide receivers have either transferred or your quarterback can't get it to them. Please just check the ball down 3-4 times. And even these dumb as rocks coaches across the country have been doing that. So when I go into this game, it's really hard for me to not see the Eagles have a couple design touches for the best player on the field in this one. So for that, I think Saquon can go over. I like over 12.5 receiving.
Yeah, no, definitely. Also looking at this, I looked at the weather. It's still not saying snow or anything there either. So looking like, obviously today's weather's forecast is probably a little bit more accurate than Wednesday. We always talk about that. Like I could tell you the weather, whatever, on Monday and Wednesday, but that shit don't mean nothing. We're 2 days out, still staying mid-30s. Haven't seen anything too crazy. Luckily it wasn't the middle of the week on Sunday because I know the middle of the week has been terrible all around the country. So definitely like the spot here just because, I mean, you kind of have to sell out for the run, don't you? So if Saquon could sneak out and get that, I mean, this is probably one catch, right? I mean, you look at his numbers, easily could be one catch. You see what he can do in space, and now it's like, why wouldn't you try to give him that opportunity here? So like that spot, I'm going to actually be going to the other side of the game. I'm going to be going to Austin Ekeler here. Over 24.5 receiving yards, minus 110. I know everybody's beside why are we betting this one? Because in the first game, I know Brian Robinson was out. So make sure you know that when you look at, why he got 8 for 89 through the passing game against the Eagles in the first game. That's important, though. The reason why I say that's important is because I know Sue talked about this. I don't know I think it was Wednesday. How well the Eagles are getting pressure without having to blitz, right? They have a very good front seven. Obviously, nobody's taking anything away from that. Obviously, there's one of the best defenses in the NFL. I also look at pass blocking, right? And Brian Robinson sucks at it, bro. I looked at the PFF grades from last week, and they were not good. And then you look at Austin Ekeler, he's like 78%, and he's like damn good at it. And if we have spots where we're passing, and Jaden Daniels has to do pretty much everything, you got to keep him standing upright. Yeah, you got to. I think we see a little bit more Austin Ekeler in terms of snap count this week. I looked at last week's snap count. He was at 37% snap count last week for the running backs. They had 17% with Jeremy McNichols, which was a little bit, that obviously when they're winning, you bring them in towards the end to kind of be the hammer there. But I think we start to see that number for Brian Robinson kind of trickle down a little bit. We saw 53% for him, 37% for Ekeler. I think we could get that closer to, 45, 50% to Ekeler because This dude's he's tough, man. It's a tough matchup for anybody, and you can just see every single game he's getting healthier and healthier. These last two, mind you, I had that long shot on him in that Tampa Bay game, and they counted it as a fucking run. Can you imagine what this number would be if that would have counted as a pass? And he went for what, 40 and 42? It ain't sitting at 24, bro. It ain't sitting there, right? And that's a difference of 1 foot. If they would have threw that ball 1 foot further in front, what's this line at when people are game log hunting and going through and seeing that he's been at 40 in the last two games, right? And mind you, that's with a 37% snap share. And game before that, I think it was 47%. When they face off in a closer game, obviously. They were closer in that game, and we saw that number push to close to 50%. I think that's what it's going to be here. You got to keep Jaden Daniels upright. You got to make sure we get that ball out quick in a lot of these situations. And Ekeler's kind of just been that safety valve. Only 4 targets in the last two games, too. So I think it's going to be more of a focal point. You just can't get behind the sticks, man. You can't get behind the sticks in this game. And even if it's a 1-yarder, right? Even if it's just a drop off and he gets 1 yard, he's been really good in space. And again, Vaughn's been a monster, but I can't say it enough. Nakobe Dean was a tank, dude. That dude was a fucking monster. He was so good. And having him gone, and obviously Vaughn's obviously still playing. Obviously, you guys see I got my Badger shit up here, so repping. Yeah, I think that's a tough one there because you obviously going to have a guy spying on Jaden Daniels, or else it's going to be a long-ass day for him. So I like Ekeler. I think he's going to get a little bit more than 4 targets. I see him on the field probably as much, if not more, than Brian Robinson in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%. The same logic that the whole playoffs has just been funny where, like, Washington's been projected to trail every game, and they've actually been winning. So it's like he hasn't got his regular necessarily like projected trailing game script workload. There's been more Robinson because they've been ahead. But like you said, I think there's probably going to need to be more pass blocking downs. There's going to need, those short, easy completions. And that's exactly what Ekeler does. For me, another big thing too, Washington plays no huddle at the highest rate in football, and the Eagles love to rotate personnel. So I think the Commanders are going to try to stop them from doing that and try to keep their older veterans and those big boys on the field with all this no huddle up to the line of scrimmage. And normally when you get up there and you see Washington on those plays, it's a lot of check to Ekeler, quick run, maybe quick designed run, check to Ertz, just those simple, easy, quick completions that I think kind of Ekeler will be a part of the game plan. I see a lot of short passing in this game for me. So big fan of Ekeler. Love the receiving look. Definitely on board this week, 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys had a must-win game, right? Week 18, and we saw 60% Austin Ekeler in a game where you guys were trailing, right? You guys were down to Dallas in that game, Week 18. So definitely, again, a game. If we do see the Eagles jump out early, right? That's definitely something that we could see quite a bit of. 60%. And 40% of Robinson. I'm not sure if they just sat him like they kind of sat Daniels in that game where they sat him the second half, but Ekeler's a pretty big, important spot there for those guys. So definitely like that spot. Let's take a look in the chat here. Hit that like button. Hey, we appreciate you, my man. We appreciate you. Isn't Washington, Buffalo? I ain't parlaying those, bro. I ain't parlaying. I might just take them both straight, bro. It's tough for me to want to parlay dogs on this weekend because, like they're the best teams here for a reason, man. It's tough for me to want to bet those when I can get plus money on either one of them,
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I'm a lot different than a lot of people, but like the parlay at 590 is like okay. I think I feel better playing them both at plus money and feeling good walking away with some money if either one of them won. You know what I mean? Like you said, of just like what's Washington? Like what? Close to 300 by now. I mean, with the direction that's moving by the end of the week, you might even get there. Like, I'd rather just take that money line, maybe sprinkle the Bills, and just be happy with a plus money cash.
Yeah, I'm seeing 235 on FanDuel where they're 6.5. So 235 and then plus 110 on the Bills on that side. So there's that. How do you feel about Gainwell? I can't. It's tough. It's low enough where I will maybe sprinkle, but like I can't bet anybody outside of the big hitters, bro.
I thought about it.
Trust that?
I thought about it just because. So naturally,
that would piss me off so much to just not see him play.
Well, I've talked about it a couple of times. There's these third these teams love these 3rd and 10 like shotgun runs when they don't think they're going to get it. You see a team like the Eagles and the Ravens, they kind of pussied out a lot in the season, where if they didn't think, like, you'd get a Justice Hill 9-yard up the middle, a Gainwell.
I know you got screwed on a couple unders with that too.
Yeah, it's just something you notice when you bet a lot of stuff like that. But to me, the biggest thing is, in the modern NFL, guys don't play 100% of snaps. So even with Saquon playing 90 and that being a monumental number, that's not something that he was used to in the regular season, week in, week out. You're going to be tired at a certain point. Someone's got to come in and spell you on a 3rd down, play some pass blocking reps. I think that's where Gainwell comes in. So do you trust him enough to get that 10 yards? It's kind of 50-50. But for me, I don't hate the logic of him, Saquon being at such a high number. Naturally, you're going to have to spell him at some point. You're going to have to give him a breather. But like I said a minute ago, the thing that scared me off of it is both teams play a lot of no huddle. Like, these are both really high teams in that. Maybe they just get to the line and keep it going and be aggressive and take advantage of a tired defense, use Hurts to run or something. So that's my only concern. But I thought about it too. For such a, normally this would be a number I hate. I thought about it too. I don't hate the logic.
Yeah, dude. It's tough, man. Can you imagine how mad you'd be? Right? Yeah. He's in on special teams, but he doesn't play one snap. You know what I'm saying? Like, or he gets a complete reception for 15 yards.
That's more likely.
You get 3 catches for 15 yards, and then you're like, oh, he actually had 3 first downs. He played a good game.
Yeah.
Didn't get 1 fucking carry. Like, I'd be throwing shit, bro. Like, I'd be just so mad if that was the way there. Any Eagles guy in here as well. 3. Yeah, I don't even remember seeing his ass. I don't even remember. Cash vol, I'd assume just with the odds, it'd be the Bills, obviously, right? The plus 105, plus 110, not to be too obvious there. But, fellas, what do you think about an A.J. Brown ladder or longest reception? What do we think about the relationship? I can't. I don't like trusting this. I know we were kind of talking about it maybe possibly later on in there. It's just I want to bet on like the under completions for Hurts. I want to bet on a lot of these other things, but going to the passing game here is not probably where I'm going. I think you're better off just doing the longest reception. I feel like that's kind of the way you beat them. But I can't bet these guys in any volume. There's no way I can bet any volume on these dudes. So I think longest reception is your best bet. What do you think, Sue?
Yeah, I'm going to have some A.J. Brown. I agree with your logic as well. I'm going through the same thing. I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to have it as like an official play, big money spot, or just like some long shots, just some plus money, attempts at it. Because my logic is, once again, I said it earlier, I think Washington has to sell out completely to stop the run. I shared some tweets earlier. From a success rate perspective, Washington actually has done a very good job on Saquon this year. He's just broken off a couple 30-yard runs. That's what Saquon Barkley does best. I'm not going to be one of those guys that goes, oh, what if you just take away those couple runs? I think Washington can win even with those couple runs. But the point being, if you especially look at last game, they stacked the hell out of the box. They said anything but Saquon Barkley. And guess what? Even with a backup quarterback, A.J. Brown still almost had 100 receiving yards in that game. That's what no one's talking about. Yeah, he's sucked with Jalen Hurts these last 2 games. But once again, you got the combination of Pickett and McKee come in, and those guys got A.J. Brown to almost 100 receiving yards in that game, where Saquon couldn't get anything going in the second half because Washington stacked the hell out of the box. If I'm Washington, I'm coming in with the backup quarterback game plan for Jalen Hurts. I'm treating you like a backup fucking quarterback. One-on-one all day long. Lattimore just had his best game of the season. Sanders still easily had his best game of the season. Those guys are going to be confident out there. Let them play one-on-one. Dare them to beat you. And guess what? I think A.J. Brown probably can beat you at least once in this game. You know what I mean? So longest reception is a good look. And I think some yards, stuff like that is definitely in play. Because those opportunities are going to be there. It's just whether you trust him to actually take care of business and, complete on him, or if he's going to be, reading some more poetry at halftime. We'll have to see.
Yeah, bro. I think it's tough for me to bet these guys in anything outside of like a longest reception when I just don't. I've never seen volume numbers this low. Like Malik Willis had higher volume numbers on this. I don't know if you guys realize that. And that was, I don't know if you remember Stu ripping up Malik Willis to oblivion, and he still hit the under, but to see a pass attempt line at 24.5, like to see a completion line at 16.5, like that is crazy, bro. That's crazy low. So it's like maybe one of those pops off for 80, right? Maybe. But it's just I can't bet him with any volume. So I definitely think the longest reception is your best bet. And that's why I won't be betting on Jalen Hurts under passing yards. If anything, I'm going to bet on the under completions because I do think that they're going to be putting them on islands. And, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. So,
yeah.
And I think it does benefit that the weather is going to be, or at least so far, it looks decent. So that is also something to play on there. All right, we head into the Bills Chiefs. I guess I will go first because I do have a parlay piece here with Jaden Daniels. And I'm going to be rolling Kelsey 50 receiving with Jaden Daniels, 250 passing plus rushing. I kind of have to add the rushing in there just because obviously I love the upside that we've seen from Jaden Daniels in the rushing game. I know Eagles defense is damn good, man. I mean, they're ranked what, number one or number two in pretty much every statistical category. It's just, how do you fade this guy at this point? How do you not take, like, everything has to go through him in this game? Like, there's like, I just talked about betting Ekeler. I'm probably betting Brian Robinson unders. Like, I think that kind of has to be happening here. I just don't trust them to be able to run the football in these games, right? What I did like in the few spots against Philly earlier this year, 7 carries in one game and then 9 in the other. Obviously, in that 9 carry game, he had 81 rushing yards first time. Obviously, yeah, I remember this dude's still a rookie, so that first month of the season is a hell of a learning curve. Obviously, with the loss to Tampa in that first game of the season, but man, pushing 1,000 rushing yards, it's just really tough for me when I look at, even just rush attempts, right? Like, I know Stu hammered it on that first week, and we all made money on the show here, but 10.5 minus 135 to the over now, like, tough. You're getting 11 attempts. You're getting 11 attempts from a guy as explosive as Jaden Daniels. It's tough for me to want to be on the under there, right? I mean, the last time he had 16 against the Lions last week. Yeah, we were talking about it on the thing before. 13 in the game before that, right? It's tough for me to want to go away from him, especially when, your secondary pieces are clicking right now. Dynamic Brown, right? 98 yards, telling Amon-Ra, get off me, bro. Like, that shit was funny, bro. I don't care what anybody says. That shit was hilarious. He's like, I hope you remember my name now. That's funny, bro. So shout out to him for punking the blue hair guy. Also, I love Ertz. I think it's going to be a tough spot for him going across the middle against this Eagles defense. But I know Terry's had one decent game, one bad game against these guys. I think, how many 50-50 balls you're talking about with A.J. Brown? You're probably getting 50-50 balls here with Terry McLaurin as well because, in my opinion, probably the best contested catch receiver in the NFL right now. It's really tough to argue against that. And when it comes down to crunch time, probably one of the more clutch guys, even as a rookie. So I want it to be in his hands. You just look at, like, opportunities as well. My only issue is just if the Philadelphia Eagles can hold the ball for 2 times the amount of time of possession, right? But yeah. I'm in the same ballpark as you are, where it's like, what they're trying to do, sell out. And if we do, we just talked about A.J. Brown possibly getting a 70-yarder. Talked about Devontae Smith. That means Daniel's getting the ball right back, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm more worried about those long 10-minute drives that we've seen Washington put on Detroit. I think that's a tough spot. And I think, like you said, if they're in that man coverage selling out, I think we might see a couple big plays that kind of give them a little bit, get that ball back right away. So going over to Kelsey, I'm going to bet Kelsey every single game in the playoffs. It's just he hasn't done me wrong yet. So I'm going to be going back there. It's just when I buy it down this low, guys, it's tough. I wasn't even expecting him to catch, a 50-yarder in that Houston game, but 8 targets there. Last game of the Pittsburgh game, he had 11 targets, right? When it flips and it's time to win games, you know where he's looking. Like it's such a big flip. Mind you, in that game, he had 8 targets, 117. Mahomes had 177 yards, bro. He had like 48% of the completions. It's absurd. And nothing to DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't even really look at him. And I thought he might have a pop-off game because it's a revenge spot, but we didn't see anything to him. It was pretty much Worthy and Travis Kelce. That was pretty much all they had in the passing game. And in this one, you're going to have to pass against Josh Allen in this spot. So I'm going back to Kelsey. Sign me up if you want to look at past past games, past playoff games. I mean, you can go to the crazy game from I don't remember what year that was, where they just went back and forth forever. But even last year, 5 for 75 when they were at Buffalo in the playoffs. You want to go back another year before that. Obviously, he's clearing 50 yards in every single game of those ones. So I'm going to keep rolling with him. Kelsey, keep doing your thing. Sign me up for the playoff, Kelsey. It's a different beast, man. Kelsey 50, and I'm going to roll with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, so my one thing, I locked in a modified version of this. I played Kelsey 50, Daniels 40 rushing, just because I think I'm a little more confident in this rushing than I am the passing. But then I'm a little hypocritical because I told you earlier, I like completions as well. My biggest thing is I'm just a little worried. I think Daniels is going to throw a lot. I'm just worried. I think a lot of it's going to be short. I think a lot's going to be Ekeler. It's going to be scary Terry screens. He just took a screen 84 yards last week. So obviously that's something that can easily happen again right here. But I do think it's going to be a lot of like shorter passing, which is the one thing that scares me a little bit. But I don't want to be like dramatic over Kelsey, but like 50 should be like minus 600. You know what I mean? Like the base number adjusted, like last week the base was 50. Now it's 69, 67, that's fair. Even old Kelsey, it's still a fair number for. So the fact that you can still get 50 at such a reasonable price, like I bet his touchdown already. Like I'm totally with you here. I think the logic just makes too much sense of just like, he's Mahomes' guy. They have the best relationship between any target and weapon of anyone in football. You know what I mean? So why not back that when the lights are brightest in the biggest game of the year? So yeah, I like this combo a lot. It's just two guys that their numbers have gotten a little bit out of hand, but they're both the heart and soul of their team. So buying it down, I feel like you're still, not losing too much there.
Yeah, I couldn't pick between passing and rushing there, especially, we have seen these receivers, like I said, take those short ones to the house. Dynami's been obviously good down the field as well, and obviously McLaurin in those big spots. So it's tough for me to want to pick one because we've seen Daniels so explosive in the run game. Give me both. I know I get a little bit worse number, but I'll take it. I think you can get this at still minus 112 on FanDuel. I didn't even check it on DraftKings, to be honest, because FanDuel's been giving me better prices or across the playoffs in this spot. So like this one, and we're going to head over to you, Stu, to finish up with our last bet of the one. I talked about pretty much being the Kelsey Xavier Worthy show, and you're going back.
Yep, definitely. Man, we talked about this a lot at the end of the year, right? With Xavier Worthy on the show. He was one of my favorite guys to target. I really thought his breakout was something that maybe wasn't recognized enough in the second half of the season. Just when you have a Brian Thomas Jr., when you have all these amazing Malik Neighbors, they're obviously going to be the guys you talk about, but Worthy's been awesome. And what I really like about Worthy is you got this guy that's a fucking track star. In college, he's running deep. He's getting down the field. He has some awesome measurables in college. You're thinking, okay, he'll be the new Justin Watson on this team, right? Because if you've been paying attention for the last 4 years, Justin Watson chills, collects a check, runs straight down the field a couple times, and catches a bomb. He's not that good. He doesn't separate. He doesn't do anything particularly well, but just being part of that Mahomes offense, you're going to get yourself some awesome deep bombs. So for me, I'm thinking Worthy is obviously going to be the new and improved version of that. I was completely wrong. They looked at that speed and said, hey, we can get this guy involved in a lot of fun ways, even similar to someone like Tyreek Hill in past seasons, or if you don't want to get that aggressive, a guy like Mecole Hardman, where Andy Reid has consistently used these guys as like gadget plus receivers, right? Not only are you going to run your downfield routes, not only you're going to be involved, but hey, we're going to get you out of the backfield every once in a while. We're going to get you in motion, get you a screen pass, easy completions. We want the ball in your hands, out of Mahomes' hands quickly. Let's not let the pass rush affect this game. And for me, man, Worthy's been awesome as a chess piece in that puzzle because everyone's healthy now, right? You got a full room. And I think a lot of people expected, and to be honest, I wish I bet Worthy last week. I stayed off just because I was thinking maybe Hopkins goes to that full heavy workload. Maybe they go out and some of that gets taken a little bit. But no, Worthy went out there and ran a route on 28 of 32 dropbacks. He was the wide receiver one. He had full-time usage. And if you look at his usage, you might think, oh, he probably runs in the slot a lot. Worthy actually spends a lot of his time outside. He was he had really tough matchups last week. I mean, the outside matchup against Texas is arguably one of the toughest in football with Stingley, and you get a little bit of Lassiter in there. He had that in the regular season where he went over his number as well. So seeing him do it against really tough competition has given me a lot of confidence here. Also, we have seen some injuries. Benford is likely going to get out of concussion protocol, seemingly in a very sly way, by the Bills giving him a day off for personal reasons. I haven't looked too deep into this, but from what I'm reading, it seems like they cleverly, maybe they worry he doesn't pass. I don't know. I got to dive deeper. It looks like they're going to get Benford in there. I don't know if it's legit or not. I don't know if he's fully healthy, but it looks like he's going to play. Rapp, their safety, is already out. That is going to hurt that secondary just overall, especially when you got a guy like Worthy in motion. They use him in a lot of creative ways to attack linebackers and safeties. Now you got Damar Hamlin and a rookie. Both of those guys like to play in the box, as kind of hybrid guys. Neither of them are really good deep safeties. So Worthy could be involved there as well. Like, I just see so many different paths to victory. One stat I really like, since week 15, he has 13 screen passes. He's averaging over 2 screen passes per fucking game. Do you know how easy those completions are? Just a simple check down, point and shoot for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. That's exactly what you want when you bet the receptions market. So I get you're dealing with some juice right here, but I think this is definitely worth it. I love how many different ways they get Worthy involved in short yardage looks. Just use that speed. And then the final thing, Kelsey's crushed this team. I expect Kelsey to continue to. They've got Milano back. They're healthier than they have been in past years. The attention is all towards Kelsey. Like, guys like Worthy heavily benefit from Kelsey being the number one, option for defenses. So it's a little juice right here, but I do think the juice is worth the squeeze.
What is your thoughts on Hopkins this week? I'm curious because we didn't see him really involved at all. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are. I don't really think it was a matchup thing. I think it was just like, obviously they kicked the shit out of him and they had quicker drives than usual with the Chiefs with big plays. So I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on him this week? Obviously he's not your bet, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I like receivers in Kansas City across the board. Like, a lot of targets this week, and he's not on the list. So that, I'm not going to be betting him. I think even a guy like Hollywood who's coming in playing more snaps. I like that he's a dependable veteran guy. I think you could see a longest reception come into play. Maybe they try to scheme up because he's got dependable hands. He's got fantastic hands still, even for his age right now. But volume, I don't think is going to be that good, to be honest. And they even used Juju on 20% of snaps last week or so. His role didn't even get phased out. Noah Gray came out and played a bunch of snaps when they were declining a little bit before. So I can't trust him. If they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel especially, he's just going to get bumped out of there. And Noah Gray, it's like Noah Gray or him, funnily enough to say. You obviously have Hollywood back. You got other dudes that are involved there. But when they play a lot of 12 personnel, that kicks an extra wide receiver off the field. And it's been Hopkins that's been getting kicked off the field, not a guy like Worthy, which is, a huge compliment to him. So, yeah, staying away from Hopkins. Big fan of the player. Could get a longest reception. But overall, I like the unders.
Awesome. Good looks. Yeah, I was just curious because I know a lot of people were asking about him. I know I saw a decent amount of people bet him last week. But yeah, just some big plays and stuff like that. It makes it a little bit, tougher to get down the field and get it to other people when Kelsey's just, 70? I don't know them. I can't do the math in my head that well, but 60% of the yards and 45% of the completions going to him. I mean, it just kind of makes it tough. But yeah, I think we're good. Let's get a quick recap, Stu. I know you got some long shots. I am playing Ekeler up to 50. It's going to happen. It's plus 400. Give me that shit, bro. That's shit. I already put that. I went in and I locked it in on my tracking thing. And I'm like, all right, let's just do this now. This shit's going now. I got to do it now. So, all right, I'll send it over to you.
Sounds good. We got Saquon Barkley over 12.5 receiving yards, minus 110. I'm perfectly fine with 13.5, and I would play it to 14.5 as well. And then we got Xavier Worthy over 4.5 receptions, minus 140. I like this to minus 150 at that range, minus 155. If it goes to 5.5, I'd play that for half a unit at plus money.
Beautiful. I'll be playing combo of Travis Kelce and Jane Daniels. 250 for Daniels, 50 receiving for Kelsey at -112 on FanDuel. And also on DraftKings here, I believe this one is. FanDuel is 25.5, but over 24.5 receiving. Stu, long shot for you. What is it? Where are we going?
Yeah, let's see. I've got a lot of long shots. So, I mean, this is like the perfect week. It's that time of year. You don't have that many games left. The one that we'll talk about on the show, let's see what the prices are right now. We'll do Curtis Samuel. Let's see. What do we want to do? We'll do 4 receptions at plus 550.
I love Curtis Samuel, bro. I used to love him so much in fucking Washington when he was over there.
And hey, I'll say one thing. When rushing and receiving comes out, I'll be playing that because there's going to be 0 rushing accounted in, and I think he can get a handoff in this game. So that's something to keep in mind. Those numbers are now. I will say 3 receptions is the much safer one at plus 200. I'm normally not a parlay guy. I will be building more parlays this week. Having that 3 receptions at plus 200 will be how I start a decent amount of my long shot ones. I think Curtis Samuel is really underrated this week. I talked about at the beginning of the show. When you look at this wide receiver room, there's room for opportunity, right? If we think Allen's going to have to throw the ball a couple times down the field in this game, a couple people are going to have to benefit. I do think the guys like Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper will have the downfield usage, but when we think of what Kansas City does best, one, they're a top 5 cover 2 team. They eliminate explosive plays at a very high rate, especially when Watson is healthy and both of their corners are good. But more importantly, when you think of this defense, you probably think of Spags and the blitz, right? You probably think of getting after the quarterback, a lot of creative free rushers, linebackers come in, safeties come in. He's very good at bringing pressure to the quarterback. And what is the number one thing that the Bills have done to kind of get Josh Allen to that next level as a quarterback? It's eliminated the reckless downfield throwing and scheming up a lot of easy completions to get the ball out quickly in these kind of situations. Like the wide receiver screen game and running back screen game is huge. When you look at how they've won games against teams like the Lions, against the Rams, it's on screens this year. They're attacking linebackers in space. They're manipulating the fact that you have to play your safeties back. You need to respect Josh Allen's arm. And when you have to do that, you're going to have these easy check down. And Josh has never wanted to take these, but he really has this year. That's what's taken him to the next level. A guy like Curtis Samuel had his best game of the season against the Chiefs earlier this year. When you think of a guy that's going to be involved in this screen game, he's going to get easy targets. Samuel immediately comes to mind. Shakir's the number 1. I think Shakir will have a good game. I think Shakir's going to get Trent McDuffie in his face for almost every snap possible. A lot of people aren't projecting that. They're saying, look at the regular season numbers. He played more outside. One, this is a guy that came from the slot. He's done it. He's done it at a high level in their past Super Bowl runs before. It's not like he's uncomfortable with the slot. But 2, it reminds me of the same Ladd McConkey discussions we had a couple weeks ago. Just because something happened in the regular season doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the postseason. You want your best players guarding their best players. And I think for that reason, we're going to see a lot of McDuffie following around Shakir. So when you have these guys in the slot, I think Shakir gets the tougher matchup. I think we see them take the path of less resistance and they incorporate Samuel plenty in this game. So pretty much however you can get Curtis Samuel this week, I'm a fan. I think he's underrated. I think there's some good other Bills props like Amari Cooper, for example, a 30-yard catch. I will 100% be playing this week. Just because when I think of how he's going to be used, it's likely going to be a 50-50 ball. You see some man coverage, you see a blitz coming, fuck it, let's give Amari Cooper a chance or 2. He's not separated anymore, but it doesn't matter. The guy's got fucking sticky glue hands. He can catch everything that gets near him. So it just depends on how you want to attack long shots. But I think Samuel, for me, I can see so much creative usage for him in this game, and I don't think it's being priced in nearly enough, especially when he's playing more snaps than Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I definitely I get you. And I guess you can't go wrong with Curtis Samuel for me. If he's going to be out there, it's just I would prefer to trust him over, like even James Cook. Give him that spot in space, right? Give him that. That's literally what he's done his whole career. That's what he's made his living off of. Is those fucking bubble screens, those crossing routes, just short routes. Sign me up. And the tough part is for me is I'm going to play Ekeler for show purposes here. 404 on DK, but I will be betting on Brian Robinson unders, bro. I'll be betting on a lot of those. I wish it was a little higher, but the books are privy to it, right? And they know that he's probably not going to be out there too much. I saw his number on FanDuel right now is 37.5 rushing. I'll probably be betting under that. I know it doesn't come out. I hate that they don't offer alt ones until like day of where I want to bet an alt under. So I'm going to have to wait to bet that one. But if they give me like under 30, under 25, and I can get, some pretty high numbers on those, because that's obviously like 30, 40% of what his actual number line is, I feel like I get some good value there. But I wish they would give you those unders earlier, because I really want to hit that one. But I think I'll be able to. I think Rivers offers me those. They also offer me the rushing receiving unders. I'll probably take that as well, because we've just seen a lot more of like the short line goal stuff go to Ekeler and McNichols, right? So it's like, really, what is his purpose right now when you can't really run up the middle here? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the worst matchup you can possibly have to try to run the ball in between the tackles. So I think it's obviously quick passes, quick screens. That's why I kind of like the Daniels passing stuff as well. But yeah, that is kind of my 1B to this one, is kind of like correlating it there. But they don't offer the alternate unders yet. So it's going to have to make me wait a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like the logic. According to Pickett, it looks like Bet Rivers has under 25.5 per like plus 270. So you're not getting a great plus money number on that.
It's kind of gross.
But yeah, and I was looking too. Samuel touchdown is 8-1, which is kind of crazy. I don't think that's bad. And then when I combined it, this is for me. This is a theme parlay. You can get current Washington slot receiver and former Washington slot receiver. I'm not even going to the starter. I'm going to the backup. Jamison Crowder, Curtis Samuel, both to score a touchdown is 100-1 on BetMGM right now.
I really thought you were about to say McCaffrey, and I'm like, oh God, don't fucking say
I want
I
McCaffrey.
know you do, but he doesn't do nothing, though. He's a fucking special team.
I bet it like 10 times, and nothing ever happened. So
no, I have a touchdown this year.
I don't think so. No, I would have hit it if he did. I definitely would have hit it if he did. And I do. Nah, I won't say that. I do think it's not. They scheme plays up for him randomly. Like, he comes in the field for one play, and it'll be clearly he's like the second read running 30 yards down the field. But unfortunately, that's a next year thing, not this year. So not McCaffrey. Jamison Crowder did have a couple big touchdowns so far this year, including against the Eagles. So that's my thought process. Both those guys, 100-1. You get a theme. You get two Washington slot guys at good prices. I mean, I'm tossing $5 on that. It's that'll be an easy donation right there. I don't know. There's a lot of good long shots for me. I love your Ekeler look as well. 100% beyond that. I mean, the guy had 90 in the matchup earlier in this year. You do the math. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with it, obviously.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't think we have any other questions. So, all right, Sue. Last thing before we get out of here. Anything for the people here? Obviously, big weekend for you. You're going to be doing it on a Sunday afternoon, 2:00 my time here. So, anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, man. I mean, I will say, if you have any more questions, make sure to drop them in the comments below. Just looking at these games, I'm trying to think if there are any more bets I wanted to recommend. I played Saquon 25 receiving as a little long shot, like ladder. And I don't even mind going up to like 40 or something like that as well, just if you do think they could fall behind. I think there's some good parlays you can build for the Eagles actually having to throw the ball as well. If you do like let's say Daniels 2 touchdown, Terry McLaurin like 80 receiving yards, then you put in on the other side AJ Brown having 100 or 80, and maybe Goddard 50. Like, you can get really good prices because all those numbers are so low that you're going with a game script that assumes. And if you really want to, you can build out the Saquon 150 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and you can build the Washington trailing game script as well to kind of counteract it. I think those kind of parlays are really smart this time of year and a good way to kind of capitalize. Saquon 2 touchdowns and longest rush would be the ways I bet on him in the rushing game. That's when I look at the numbers. 130 I can't possibly get to, but like 23.5 longest rush. If you think he gets to 130, just bet the 23.5. You know what I mean? He's a boomer bust guy anyway. We talked about it earlier. So, just a couple final thoughts on the games. I'll probably have a couple more props here and there. I'll try to get one out on Twitter as well. But like Fantasy Better said in the chat, make sure to hit that like button before you get out of here. Tells the algorithm you had a good time, you enjoyed it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to appeal to the algorithm out here. You gotta, at the end of the day, that's king. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, just a little bit left in the NFL season, but I think we got some bangers today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys popping in. We still got 50 of you guys in here. We appreciate you. We'll be back Monday, I believe. Maybe doing some NBA recap or NBA, possibly college basketball stuff. Still in the weeds on those, so I ain't worried about that. We got some stuff for you guys betting wise, but obviously we'll be recapping our show plays here. And again, guys, we are trying to. We're close. We're very close, but we're trying to get to that 20 unit mark. We've been just itching on a back and forth. Might as well get there, right? We just gotta have we need a 3 in 1 day. We need a 3 in 1 day or one of our long shots to hit, and we're there. So hopefully we can cross that 20 unit mark with you guys. So best of luck this weekend, guys. Yeah, go Commanders, huh? Go Commanders. I'm hopeful I'm gonna be putting my bet on the Bills as well. So let's make some money. Have a good one, guys, and see you Monday.